You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, Freeman Health says COVID testing numbers in our area are up and what that means for medical services.
As the skies begin to lighten over the 4 states, we're done with our snow. Now, how about a little Thursday warm-up? We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And in the midst of a nationwide blood shortage, calls for the FDA to end its ban on gay donors continues to grow. We'll have all that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Freeman Health System discusses COVID testing on Wednesday during a briefing. Officials say they've conducted almost 100,000 tests so far. 20,000 tested positive. That testing has led to longer wait times in the emergency room. Officials say when it comes to testing in the ER, resources go where they are needed.
So those patients, even if they're in the emergency department, they still have an admission status. They're still being treated by sub-consultants. If they need dialysis, they're still getting dialysis. It really is just where's the bed that we can utilize, and does it have, isolation capability? And unfortunately, sometimes we have to really utilize those isolation rooms in the emergency department.
In a statement, Mercy Hospital officials say they've seen a lot of people show up at the ER just for COVID testing. They agree with the Department of Health's statement that the ER is meant for true emergencies and that COVID testing is leading to long wait times. Mercy suggested people use their convenient care clinics for testing rather than the ER. Top Republicans pushed their congressional redistricting plan through the GOP-dominated Kansas legislature with almost no trouble. An expected court battle looms after Wednesday's legislative action over whether the proposed map goes too far in hurting the state's only Democrat in Congress. House at 79-37 vote sends Democratic Governor Laura Kelly a bill that would split the Kansas City area into 2 congressional districts and move the liberal northeast Kansas city of Lawrence into a district with central and western Kansas. Senate approved the measure last week. Republicans in the Missouri Senate are fighting over how to divvy up the state's 8 congressional districts. Senators on Wednesday worked behind closed doors to compromise on new district lines. The plan backed by GOP leaders is projected to continue current political divide of 6 Republican and 2 Democratic representatives. Some Republicans want to split the Democratic stronghold of Kansas City among multiple districts to give Republicans a shot at winning 7 seats. Every year across the country, volunteers and those working to assist the homeless take part in the point-in-time count as a way to keep track of how many people are experiencing homelessness. It's now underway in Joplin. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with those conducting the count in Joplin and has more on how this helps the community as a whole.
On a nicer day, we might have walked down there, but it's a no-go today.
The cold temperatures didn't stop Tammy Walker and others at Economic Security from participating in this year's point-in-time count.
We do our point-in-time count where we go out and try to find people living unsheltered, living outside, to get information from them and try to provide resources.
Walker says they do this in 2 ways.
The shelter count, a survey will go to the local emergency shelters and transitional housing programs that house people on the night of the 26th. So that's a separate survey. And then we have 7 teams that we have divided up into to cover Jasper and Newton County to find people that are living outside unsheltered.
Walker was a part of one of those teams and would drive to areas that many experiencing homelessness usually populate. There, they speak with them and try to connect.
We'll go out and we'll ask if we can ask them some questions. We use that information locally for planning to help leverage, local funding, private, state, and federal funding for programs that can help house people. And then just, the biggest reason is to go out and connect with the people, find out, what their needs are, find out what programs they might be interested in, and give them information.
Walker says many living out on the streets are unaware of the many services offered to them. The point-in-time count aims to fix that.
Sometimes it just takes multiple times going out and talking to someone over time for them to, be comfortable enough to maybe engage in services.
Meaning they're making an impact before collecting all of their data. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Last year, the number of people reported to be experiencing homelessness in Joplin was 210. Thursday is the perfect day to have your cake and eat it too. It's National Chocolate Cake Day. It's unclear who created the holiday, but who doesn't like an excuse to grab a slice of chocolate cake? As for the origin of the cake itself, it's believed the first one was made in 1765 when a doctor and a chocolate maker teamed up for the ultimate dessert. The first box cake mix was created by a company called O'Duff & Sons in the late 1920s. Now, Betty Crocker released its first dry cake mixes in 1947.
I did not know the dry cake mix has been around that long.
Did you know that Betty Crocker knows what guys like?
No, I know that me and Betty Crocker can make someone happy.
Okay.
Obviously they don't use that cut line anymore.
You can make me a cake.
You what?
I'll take a cake. You can make me.
Oh, or in the words of my grandmother, if I knew whenever we'd have an unexpected guest, if I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake.
There you go.
No idea where she got that from, but you can put that up. You put that on my checklist of Michael.
Grandma sayings?
Michael sayings that you shake your head.
If I knew you were coming, I would have baked a cake.
Yeah, I still say it.
I would have swept the floor. No.
Sometimes that's more of an accomplishment in the Hazelip household than actually baking the cake, yes. Live look outside of Television City. The heavy cloud cover really preventing us from getting a good shot, even though we've got 20 minutes until sunrise, usually about this time of the show. We're starting to see some beautiful colors on the horizon. That is not the case, but at least this system that had the snow with it overnight, and when I say snow, really it was flurries in the 4 states. The definition of flurries being light snow that's intermittent and really doesn't amount to much accumulation as compared to a snow shower. And that's where it's pretty consistent and begins to pile up. So that's what we have. Even the northeastern portion of our highlighted counties, it's pretty much done. And then when we put on the cloud cover, it gives you an idea of how we're going to take a while before we get some clearing skies. So there we are. I want to kind of compare and contrast here. Here we are over 7th and Range Line where like I said, we've got a dusting. You don't even see any snow on the ground there. The camera just went down on me. I want to show you. It's cool, Tim. You can go back to this. I'll get back to it. Anyway, I want to show you a shot over Hammond's Field in Springfield, because we were talking about if you're going to be on I-44, well, it's a different look in Springfield, Missouri right now. Look at that outside of Hammond's Field. They got a fair amount of accumulation, still have some snow, even on the ground. And earlier this morning, I even saw a snowplow go by on that very same video feed. So yeah, they really piled up compared to what we got. Temperatures hovering right around the freezing mark. Eventually, though, we're making into the mid-40s later on today. A little sunshine. Then we got a miniature cold front that occurs on Friday, and it's nothing compared to what we had on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll still be in the 40s on Friday. And then we head into the weekend. We are going to close out January, our last weekend of January, with temperatures in the 50s.
Hey, you can't complain about that, that's for sure.
That's perfect ending right there.
All right, well, thank you, Michael. Up next, Chef Anthony returns to the studio to whip up some classic Alfredo. Definitely don't want to miss that. And later, Dr. Anthony Fauci meets with the White House today to discuss how we make normal life and COVID-19 coexist. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Indigo.
All right, welcome back. We've got Chef Anthony Fisher from Pittsburgh High School in the studio again, and we're making pasta. More
Yes,
pasta.
we are. We're going to do a Midwest Alfredo. This is very unique to our area, so it saves a little bit of money. It's got good flavor, and it's really nice. It comes together super quick.
What makes Alfredo Midwest compared to like
It's what we
traditional
use.
Alfredos?
Instead of using heavy cream inside of it, we use half and half, and then we add a little bit of sour cream in order to add a little zing and a little bit more fat to it.
Oh, and who doesn't like the flavor of sour cream? So.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So we have everything that we need to get going. We have a nice hot pot. We're going to add a little bit of butter to it.
All right, let's go ahead and
There we go.
turn on this burner for you too. There we go.
There we go.
Get you going.
And we're going to add a little bit of garlic into it, because who doesn't like a good amount of garlic? And a little bit of red onion to give it some zwing. And let it all get marrying together and cooking down. The beauty of this is the use of pasta throughout almost anything that we want to do. You can cook 2 or 3 pounds of pasta off on Saturday or Sunday, put it into individual containers or put it into a giant bucket after you've cooled it, and you can use it all week long. And it's so versatile.
Have portion sizes changed for pasta? Because I remember like back in the day, my mom had one of those little pasta measuring tools that had like the different sizes where you could stick the noodles through.
They have not changed by much. A pound of pasta is said to feed 4 people.
Okay.
So you figure if you live alone or if there's just 2 of you, then a pound of pasta is going to get you a couple of days.
Okay.
So personally, a pound of pasta for me is 2 meals.
Me too. I love pasta.
But everything comes together very uniquely. Now, all we have is everything coming together. As it starts to melt and the flavors combine all the way around, we're just going to add just a little bit of chopped parsley into it for a little bit of color.
Okay.
And then we're going to add some half and half.
All right, but how much half and half is that?
This is about a cup and a half, a half and half. Cup and a half, a half and half.
Cup and a half, a half and half. All right.
That's a mouthful all the way around. And while this is coming together, we're going to put our noodles into some hot water. You don't have to use a pot and a basket like I use. You can do this under really hot running tap water at home in your colanders, so you don't have to worry about running out.
Basically, you're bringing life back into that pasta.
Exactly.
You're giving it a fresh feeling.
Exactly. You're just putting a little bit of heat back into it, bringing everything together.
Okay.
So,
when you're making your pasta ahead of time, do you recommend like salt in there and maybe a little bit of oil to keep it from sticking or anything like that?
No oil.
No oil.
No oil whatsoever. People go, well, my pasta sticks together. Well, it's supposed to stick together because it's flour and eggs. So
how do you prevent that?
You just let it go. Add a little bit of water as you're getting ready to use it. Cold water will help loosen it up so it's not so sticky, so you can reach in and pull out what you want, but it's not starting the cooking process again. Doing this, all I'm doing is bringing a little life back to it, as you said.
Okay.
So we're getting a little bit of a simmer in here. Everything's coming together very nicely. You want to just sit and let it play. Don't rush how it comes together. Just let it go. It's going to take 5-6 minutes for everything to get all nice and gooey together. But that's the beauty of all this.
Oh yeah.
So
you want it to be good. And with Alfredo, I've had a challenge making Alfredo, burning it, and
everybody does. Everybody has that horror story where they
that's
burnt their
the one
cream.
thing that I have trouble with is, but maybe it's because I've always tried the heavy cream method. So
Exactly.
It's easier with half and half?
It's easier with half and half. You don't have to worry about burning it. You still have to watch it. It still will burn, but you don't have near as much to worry about because there's not as much fat in it to begin with.
Okay.
So, and those people are like, well, I'm on a low-fat diet. Half and half is a great substitute because you only need a little bit of sour cream at the very end to help bring that creamy, smooth, beautiful texture that everybody loves. And everything's coming together.
And they make like low-fat sour creams
Yes,
too.
they
if
do.
you want to get picky on that.
Grated Parmesan cheese. Never use the ground Parmesan cheese that comes in the little shaker cans because there's cornstarch in it.
Oh.
And cornstarch being a natural thickener, you're going to make it glue before your dish is all the way done.
Good to
But
know.
see, I just have a nice little simmer rolling around. I'm going to give it a little bit of agitation, just kind of bringing it all together in uniform. My cheese is starting to melt to give it a little bit of thickness.
Looks good. It's starting to smell good too.
Oh, I love this dish. It's so nice. This is one of the first dishes that I teach my students how to make so that they can go home and they can make dinner for the family.
Yeah.
And it's a great confidence booster if you've never experienced pasta on a large scale, and you don't have to do anything fancy. And it's cheaper to make than that stuff in the jar that you can buy at the grocery store.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So we have a little bit of thickness. I'm going to add some sour cream to it.
And half is, you know, it's not like milk. It's got a longer expiration date on it too. So you're not going to use the whole carton in one recipe, but it'll be good for a couple
It will
times that
be.
you make it.
I always suggest buying just a little container because a little bit goes a long ways with half
Right.
and half. So you don't need
Like
to
you
do
said,
it.
you only need a cup and a half of half and half.
And who doesn't like some coffee with their cream? So,
All right,
and it
how-
makes a great addition.
We're
So
getting
now
pretty close.
Everything's together. Everything's married together. And I'm going to add my pasta to it. And don't strain off all your water. You want a little bit of that water in there. It helps bring it all together and marry the flavors. And I'm just going to give it a little toss.
Ooh.
So I can see everything coming up. Just like so. Look
Oh,
at
that's
that.
beautiful. Beautiful. Do you add any finishing garnishes or anything when you're serving
I
it?
usually add just a little bit of Parmesan cheese when I go to serve it.
Which you already have here.
A little bit of Parmesan cheese and maybe a piece of parsley right on top. But it's so unique and beautiful and simple in flavors.
Oh, that is gorgeous. It's steaming hot. We need to get to break, so I'm going to attempt, but I probably will need to blow on this a little bit. It's so beautiful though. All right, and again, you can find this recipe along with the recipe from earlier this morning that we aired on KOAM Morning News on Channel 7 on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Both of those, you can find the ingredients you need to make these at home. And here we go.
That's a home run.
I love Alfredo. That's excellent.
Good. Glad you enjoyed
2
it.
winners this morning.
Good. I'm happy to do it. See you next time.
All right. Definitely. We'll be right back.
Dear Win.
As positive COVID-19 cases plateau in some parts of the country, many people want to know, is it going to end? This comes as Pfizer and BioNTech test a new vaccine against the Omicron variant. Daryl Forges with the details.
Positive COVID-19 case numbers trending down in some states. According to Johns Hopkins University, the U.S. is averaging over 639,000 new cases per day. That's a 14% decrease over last week.
We're 2 years into this pandemic, and people, I think, are feeling rightly exhausted by all of this.
Now, some health experts believe it's time for a change in strategy against the pandemic.
We need a new strategy moving forward, and that strategy does not have us in emergency mode all the time.
On Wednesday, the Biden administration outlined plans for the future of living with COVID-19 without disruptions to normal life.
And we continue to move toward a time when COVID won't disrupt our daily lives, a time when COVID is no longer a crisis, but rather something we protect against and treat.
Scientists are working to develop a universal or pan-coronavirus vaccine that offers protection against any type of coronavirus, including variants that cause COVID-19.
Obviously, innovative approaches are needed to induce broad and durable protection against coronaviruses that are known and some that are even at this point unknown. Hence, the terminology pan-coronavirus vaccine.
As to how long it could take to develop this new vaccine,
it's going to take years to develop in an incremental fashion.
In the meantime, Dr. Anthony Fauci says the current vaccines and boosters are still the best way to protect yourself. I'm Daryl Forges reporting.
For those of you keeping tabs, Amy Schneider's 40-game win streak on the hit show Jeopardy has come to an end. Rowan Talsma, a librarian from Chicago, crowned the new Jeopardy champion on Wednesday as Schneider missed the final Jeopardy clue. The only nation in the world whose name in English ends in an H. It's also one of the 10 most populous. Talsma got the correct answer. What is Bangladesh? Schneider, she could not come up with an answer, but she goes home with more than $1,380,000 in winnings. In a recent interview, Schneider said providing a positive representation of transgender people was the most rewarding part of her Jeopardy experience. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero, Major John Schuler. The Arcadia, Kansas native fought in World War II with the U.S. Army. We thank you, Major John Schuler, today's four-state hero. The nationwide blood shortage is bringing about new calls, not just for blood, but for the Food and Drug Administration to allow all gay and bisexual men to be able to donate. Zach Sos has more on the story.
You know, it's something that needs to change.
California Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara addressing an FDA rule banning gay or bisexual men who've had sex with other men in the last 3 months from donating blood.
Just clearly, simply just a discriminatory act that really no longer stands the test of time, and that science tells us does nothing to keep our blood supply safe.
A restriction that started out as a lifetime ban on gay men at the height of the AIDS epidemic in 1983 eventually loosened over the years.
This is a very antiquated rule to say that people who are at risk for HIV can't give blood. We absolutely know how to screen blood. So I'm hoping that the FDA will listen.
And a policy infectious disease expert, Dr. Monica Gandhi, who has long studied the virus, says serves no other purpose than to reinforce the stigma surrounding HIV and AIDS.
To be honest, I think it's completely discriminatory to make the assumption that anyone who is gay is fundamentally at risk for HIV at every moment.
The San Francisco AIDS Foundation also backing Commissioner Lara's call on the FDA to drop its rule.
It literally is a homophobic relic of the past.
Russell Roybal began donating blood at age 17, signing up at his high school.
I had to stop because I had to make a choice if I was going to tell the truth about who I was or be able to continue to give blood, right? There is a huge blood shortage in California.
A blood shortage the American Red Cross says is among the worst they've seen.
We are absolutely facing a crisis. We want to make sure that we always have a 3 to 5 day supply of blood on hand. And right now, we just don't.
And in a statement, the Red Cross adding in part, quote, donation eligibility should not be determined by methods that are based upon sexual orientation, leaving Commissioner Lara wondering why the FDA isn't listening.
Research shows that approximately more than 300,000 more people would donate if this rule were not in place, and roughly enough to save lives of over 1 million people. I mean,
well, the FDA is yet to respond regarding the issue. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, many gamers want to hit the reset button on a potential merger between Microsoft and one of the biggest video game makers. Speaking of video games, the newest Pokemon adventure is a departure in setting and gameplay from what players might expect. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
Time brings the 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:31. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Local company is celebrating half a century in business. Midcon Cables was founded in Joplin in 1972. Manufactures wiring harnesses for the defense industry. While the company used to be privately owned, it became employee-owned in 2010. Now, officials say even after all these years, it still feels like family.
I've always loved working at Midcon. It's a very family-oriented business. They've always taken care of me, and I like how it's important to the management here at Midcon to take care of all the employees, all the way down to the lowest paid to the highest paid, you know.
The company originally had 3 facilities in Joplin. Today it's headquartered on Davis Boulevard. The new counselor at McDonald County High School is connecting students with career opportunities after graduation. Joseph Beechner is the new career and college counselor at the high school. He's been reaching out to businesses in the area to see where employees are needed, and then he puts students in contact with the businesses so they have jobs lined up after graduation.
Every one of them wants to see, our students be successful and find their place in life when they get out of high school. But the point of this position is to have a dedicated person in the building that is here to talk every day, college and career development. So it's to have this door right here, open door, student can come in. Right now.
The new counselor position is part of a broader focus of McDonald County High School to connect students with businesses. Well, if you've ever smothered your pizza with hot sauce to give it a kick, well, this next story is for you. Starting now, you can grab a spicy pizza from your favorite Pizza Hut. Company just added the Spicy Lovers Pizza to its menu. The pie is loaded with spicy marinara sauce, 2 types of pepperoni, red jalapeno peppers, and a custom-made topping with herbs and crushed chili peppers. You can get it in 3 different versions: double pepperoni, chicken and pineapple, yum, and a veggie version topped with green bell peppers, onions, and mushrooms. A large order of the limited time pizza will set you back about $13. This looks delicious.
I'll give it a whirl.
And speaking of spicy, this morning, Chef Anthony Fisher from Pittsburgh High School joined us with a lover's pasta that had just the right amount of spice. Excellent.
You said it had a little kick to it there.
It did. It did.
And where can we find said recipe?
You can find out how to make it on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com.
See what I did there?
Go to the morning show page.
Tie everything together. All right, our temperature's not too bad compared to what we've had past couple of days, that is for sure. As a matter of fact, while Joplin sits at the freezing mark, we're right on par with Dallas, Texas right now. A little bit colder up to our north, but at least we're headed in the right direction. Now, it is a little bit of an overcast morning, that is for sure. But I mean, on the front lawn there, outside of Television City, there's a live look. We don't even have a dusting. You may see some on your vehicle, and there are places that down south of I-44 that certainly I know you're waking up with some snow on the front lawn. It's now dispatched off to the east. Pretty impressive though, from a north to south perspective. Down there at the bottom, you'll see it actually lasted from Louisiana up to Indiana at one point this morning. But now as we kick it off toward the Springfield area, I want to give a little compare and contrast. We talked about the clear ground outside of Television City, and there we are at 7th and Rangeline, where we do have a little bit of a wind chill, feels like 26. But once again, look how this thing piled up in Springfield. That's right across from Hammond's Field right there. That's Hammond's and East Traffic Way in Springfield. That's rather impressive compared to the sky cams that we have around our area. So we got out lucky. Let's be happy about that. Temperatures right now as low as 25 out in Sedan. Whole bunch of 31s and 32s, significantly better than what we had on Tuesday and Wednesday, and eventually this afternoon up into the mid-40s. We're going to have to fight the cloud cover for most of the day, but the key thing is that bottom line there is the wind now comes in from the west. Really, for the past week, the wind has shifted on us seemingly every 12 hours, and that's why our highs have gone anywhere from 32 to 60. Now, we'll kind of split that in the middle and be around 44, 45 this afternoon. But now overnight, we get another wind shift as it moves in from the north. So think about it as a miniature cold front on Friday. It's not going to be too bad. But it will top out around 41, 42 for Friday afternoon. And then as we head into the weekend, you guessed it, the wind is going to shift on us one more time, and this time work in from the south. And while the skies clear off, we're going to end up with our last weekend of January being up in the 50s. That's about 10 degrees warmer than what we'd anticipate on Saturday, and about 6 or 7 degrees warmer there on Sunday. Now, not to look too far ahead, but as we get ready to turn the calendar into February, we got the makings of a very active pattern. Everything from thunderstorm activity to a little wintry mix that is headed our way for the middle of next week. So sit back and enjoy really the next 4 to 5 days that are going to be perfect to finish off January. And then we got to prepare for a little winter weather driving. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Thank you, 4 States app.
This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our morning Insta poll, we're talking about musical instruments and introducing a young student by the name of Aiden Prasad, a violinist, and he's a teenager, and get this, he's about to perform at Carnegie Hall. That ain't too bad right there. He's part of the 2022 High School Honors Performance, where only the highest rated high school musicians play in this concert. Now, you don't have to go to Carnegie Hall to be a special musician. Your living room, that could serve as your practice auditorium, if you will. Our question to you this morning, do you play a musical instrument? And 48% of you say, yeah, just never got quite into it. But 28% learned how to play the piano or the keyboard, followed by the guitar. We've got horn and flute, something of that nature, coming in at 8%. Found this kind of curious. I was surprised drums came in only at 4%. I thought that might be just a little bit higher this morning. The Pope is promoting LGBTQ acceptance, and Gary Baumgartner has the story on the Pontiff's pleas for parents to love their children.
In Christianity, the saying goes, love thy neighbor. And now the leader of the Catholic faith is amplifying that message. Pope Francis urging religious followers around the world to love their LGBTQ family members, especially parents of queer kids.
They don't know. Parents who see that their children have different sexual orientations, how they manage that and accompany their children and not hide behind a condemning attitude.
Wednesday's remarks from the Pope came during his discussion about St. Joseph, who Christians regard as Jesus' earthly father, with Pope Francis advocating for fathers and mothers to embrace their children regardless of their sexual orientation.
Come aiutarli? To these parents, I say, don't be scared. Never condemn a child.
You're accepted, you are loved, be yourself, and there are people out there for you.
The Pope's comments come during a time when LGBTQ discrimination remains high. According to data collected by the nonprofit group The Trevor Project, LGBTQ kids are more than 4 times as likely to attempt suicide and face higher rates of bullying than their straight and cisgender peers, highlighting the significance of being accepted and loved by their parents at home.
Love is love, and I feel like everybody should be able to love who they want and celebrate who they want.
But while Pope Francis is preaching acceptance, the Catholic Church still maintains same-sex marriage is not permitted. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
Be back with some consumer news right after this, including why gamers are worried about Microsoft buying out Activision.
Get them.
What could be one of the largest tech deals ever has gamers around the world concerned and confused. Microsoft made waves last week when it announced plans to acquire Activision Blizzard for nearly $70 billion. While the deal is pending regulatory approval, gamers are already asking what this could mean for their favorite games, like the Call of Duty series. Jeremy Roth has a closer look at what we could expect if the deal goes through.
A massive deal rocking the gaming world. Microsoft announced its plans to acquire software company Activision Blizzard, making it a gaming giant.
70 billion is pretty big for any industry. You don't see deals that are bigger than that.
Of course, the question on gamers' minds, what does this mean for their favorite video games? It's still unclear, but industry analysts are preparing for the unknown.
Over time, I think that it's likely that Microsoft will try to make Activision titles exclusive to Xbox or exclusive to Game Pass, but meaning that they won't be available on PlayStation.
Activision Blizzard owns some of the most popular game franchises in the world, including Call of Duty. For years, the first-person shooter has been available on all major platforms, including Xbox and PlayStation. But now, if Xbox maker Microsoft holds the key to the Call of Duty universe, will Sony customers still be able to get in on the action?
Over time, I think this is going to drive more people to subscription and away from PlayStation. Microsoft needed more content and stuff that comes out more frequently. Call of Duty comes out every year.
On Twitter, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer confirmed the company's intent to honor all existing agreements and stated their desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. But until the deal is done, loyal gamers on competing platforms may feel like they're the ones in the crosshairs. For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jeremy Roth.
Well, the deal is pending regulatory approval and is expected to close in 2023. Activision Blizzard's library of games also includes Candy Crush and World of Warcraft. Well, a warning about social media quizzes. Social media quizzes may seem harmless or fun, asking people to answer questions about themselves. But the Better Business Bureau warns they can also ask for things like your mother's maiden name or the street you grew up on. Common security questions, it says, can be used to steal identities. The organization sharing tips advising users to be skeptical and find out who created the quiz before answering, to not accept friend requests from people you don't know, to adjust privacy settings and never share personal information like a phone number or home address on social media, for sure. Spotify pulls Neil Young's music. The streaming service makes the move 2 days after Young fired off a public note to his management demanding they remove his music from Spotify in protest of Joe Rogan spreading misinformation about the COVID-19 vaccine on his podcast. Spotify says it regrets Young's decision, but would welcome him back. Rogan has a deal with Spotify reportedly valued at $100 million, which grants them exclusive rights to the Joe Rogan experience. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
How would you like to win a
Got a new Pokemon game coming out tomorrow. It's for the Nintendo Switch, and our man Rick Damigella helps you catch them all.
Tale from a long, long time ago.
The latest Pokemon adventure takes place in the game world's past in Pokemon Legends Arceus.
This is a really tremendous reimagination of what Pokemon can mean. It's going to feel fresh. It's going to feel, like there's a lot of newness in the experience, but it's going to make us recall and remember and connect to all of this Pokemon gameplay time that we've had over the years.
In addition to the new setting, the game goes beyond previous Pokemon titles, expanding into more open-world gameplay.
What everybody is kind of making a comparison to is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Pokemon Legends Arceus does feel a lot more expansive and a lot more open world, a lot more to explore. That's the thing about all of the Pokemon games, even if they were, top-down overhead sprite-based ideas, they still kind of projected the sense that there was just this massive land to explore and all of this variety for you to engage in. But now, of course, the technology has progressed so far along that the developers and the artists can really craft that for us and really give us that sense like we have to pack a bag when we go play this game.
Catching them all in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
A little bit of an overcast start to our Thursday morning. No snow on the ground outside of Television City after the light dusting that we got. More so, it was along and south of I-44. Give you an idea of the current Skywatch storm tracker and where we stand. Kind of got to ditch this cloud cover. That's what's lingering, keeping us from getting a good dose of early morning sunshine. But the snow, if we remove the cloud cover layer, you can tell all the snow. It's now pushed up to the east. It's actually just going to ride 44. Headed towards St. Louis right now. They got a fair amount, though, in Springfield. No storm reports, but did hear about some slick spots on I-44 in between the Mount Vernon exit and Springfield. There we are over 7th and Rangeline. Oh, my goodness, that traffic picked up, and it picked up quickly. 32 degrees is where we stand. A little bit of a wind chill in effect. Feels about like 26. You notice that humidity is pretty high, comparatively speaking, to where we've been past couple of days, up to 66%. But the nice thing is we're not putting up with any drastic winds, and they're at least coming out of the south-southwest, ranging anywhere from about 25 to 32. And hey, it's a far cry from those single-digit wind chills that we had earlier this week. Speaking of a cold couple of days, look at that. We've already equaled the high for today, where we topped out yesterday at 32. But what Tuesday and Wednesday did, they dropped that January average high just below 45 degrees. We were actually being able to ride 45 for the first full 26 days of the month of January. That's pretty amazing right there. Jet stream still sweeping in out of the north and then making that hard right-hand turn as it works from west to east. Pretty calm right now. They're going to get a pretty big winter storm on the East Coast beginning tomorrow, but our tomorrow and our weekend is going to be pristine. How about temperatures in the 40s for today and tomorrow? Mostly cloudy skies, however. Then good dose of sunshine on Saturday and Sunday, and we are up in the 50s. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Dear winter, must go places.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. President Biden is expected to make an official announcement today about Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer's retirement. Breyer, the senior member of the Supreme Court's liberal wing, plans to step down this summer after nearly 28 years on the bench. The front runner to succeed the 83-year-old justice is federal appeals court judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, who was law clerk for Justice Breyer. Now, the CDC predicts at least 62,000 more Americans could die from the coronavirus over the next 4 weeks. The U.S. now averages more than 2,200 COVID deaths a day. That's a 21% increase since last week. And residents of the Northeast are stocking up on everything from snow blowers to groceries ahead of a nor'easter that's forecast to bring blizzard conditions, including heavy snow and strong winds to New England over the weekend. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your four-state forecast.
You know the first name that came to mind when I heard about Breyer's retirement?
What's that?
Robert Bork. We're going to hear that name a lot here in the coming months. Weather trend for today, mostly cloudy skies, highs around 44, 45 degrees. Staying on the dry side, we're done with our snow, and we don't have to worry about really any precipitation until we get to the beginning of February. Future track shows it's going to be a little bit cooler on Friday, certainly nothing like what we had earlier this week, and a great looking January weekend. 50s and mostly sunny skies for both Saturday and Sunday.
All right. Well, a rare sighting in Idaho, a ringtail was spotted at a factory in Twin Falls. Now, this is only the 5th confirmed sighting of the animal in the state. Wildlife experts set a trap for the ringtail, which is part of the raccoon family, in case you wondered. They caught and brought it to the Regional Fish and Wildlife Center to take samples and give it a metal ear tag. Then they sent the animal back out into the wild.
Feel bad for the ringtail. It ends up in a trap, and he's like, "What are you guys doing to my ear?"
They kind of remind me of a cross between like a lemur and a raccoon.
You know, we had the young gentleman from Girard who is a trapper. And,
Very
That's
cool.
what made me think about that. Thanks so much for letting us put the good in your morning. Back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.
Join us at Johnny Carino's for our $5 for $15 top sirloin steak and shrimp scampi.